Good morning, everyone. Paul Rupoli here with Fox 29 News Now. Hope your day is off to a great start. It is Thursday morning, just after 10 a.m. You're looking live at the Benjamin Franklin Parkway in Philadelphia. Let's get you a quick look at your weather conditions before we start taking you to some news items. Currently it is 59 in the city. Dew point is 55. Winds at a southeast at 3 miles per hour. We did have some dense fog advisories in effect until 9 a.m. this morning, but as you look outside our studios here at 4th and Market Street, you can see a little bit of blue sky there. It looks like things are clearing out a little bit. Sun is shining. Should warm all the way up into the 80s today. Quick look at the surface futurecast here. Here's a look at radar. See some little speckles of green for some rain or mist that was falling, but some of that is dissipating. And our visibility is improving. Some of these were down into fractions earlier this morning when I saw Sue Serio giving the forecast on Good Day Philadelphia. So we'll get you a look at more weather a little bit later. For now, let's get you to some national news. This morning was the morning that U.S. Attorney General William Barr was supposed to testify before a House Judiciary Committee. Here's some video of him yesterday speaking before the Senate. There was a lot of drama after this tense hearing between the U.S. Attorney General and the Senate Judiciary Committee. Today, Barr declined to testify at the hearing before the House Judiciary Committee. He said House Democrats were planning to run today's hearing inappropriately. Yesterday's heated session lasted more than 5 hours, with Senate Democrats telling Barr he should resign. They want to see the full unredacted Mueller report. The Department of Justice says the committee has not stated a legitimate reason. Meanwhile, the president is praising Barr for his testimony and adding that he should skip the hearing, today's hearing that was. Democrats said they will give him a few days to change his mind before deciding on a contempt citation. Robert Mueller, the special counsel, is expected to testify before the committee later this month. We do have some video for you of the hearing this morning, and then we'll take you to some reaction to it. Here is that footage from this morning.
On oversight of the U.S. Department of Justice. Report by Special Counsel Robert Mueller III on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and related matters. I will now recognize myself for an opening statement. Attorney General Barr has informed us that he will not appear today. Although we worked to accommodate his concerns, he objects to the prospect of answering questions by staff counsel and to the possibility that we may go into executive session to discuss certain sensitive topics. Given the Attorney General's lack of candor before other congressional committees, I believe my colleagues and I were right to insist on the extended questioning. To my knowledge, not even the ranking member was opposed to the idea of moving into closed session if necessary. But even if Democrats and Republicans disagree on the format of this hearing, we must come together to protect the integrity of this chamber. The administration may not dictate the terms of a hearing in this hearing room. The challenge we face is bigger than a single witness. Late last night, the Department of Justice wrote to inform us that they will ignore our subpoena for the unredacted Mueller report and the underlying evidence. They have made no meaningful attempt at accommodating that subpoena, which was due yesterday. The letter references the Attorney General's offer to 12 members of Congress, 12 out of 435, to look behind some, but not all, of the redactions, provided that we agree not to discuss what we see with our colleagues and that we leave our notes behind at the Department of Justice. It is urgent that we see the documents we have subpoenaed, but I cannot agree to conditions that prevent me from discussing the full report with my colleagues and that prevent the House from acting on the full report in any meaningful way. An accommodation designed to prevent us from taking official action is no accommodation at all. Every member of this committee, Democrat and Republican alike, should understand the consequences when the executive branch tells us that they will simply ignore a lawful subpoena from Congress. If left unchecked, this act of obstruction will make it that much harder for us to hold the executive branch accountable for waste, fraud, and abuse, or to enact legislation to curb that kind of misconduct, or any kind of misconduct, no matter which party holds this chamber or the White House at a given moment. The challenge we face is also bigger than the Mueller report. If all we knew about President Trump were contained in the four corners of that report, there would be good reason to question his fitness for office. But the report is not where the story ends. In the days since the Department of Justice released the redacted version of the report, President Trump has told Congress that he plans to fight all of our subpoenas. The average person is not free to ignore a congressional subpoena, nor is the president. His promise to obstruct our work extends far beyond his contacts with the Russian government and allegations of obstruction of justice. The president has also prevented us from obtaining information about voting rights, ACA litigation, and his cruel family separation policy, among other matters. The challenge we face is also not limited to this committee. In recent weeks, administration witnesses have simply failed to show for properly noticed depositions. The Secretary of the Treasury continues to ignore his clear statutory obligation to produce the president's tax returns. The president's private attorneys sued Chairman Cummings in his personal capacity in an attempt to block the release of certain financial documents. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenge we face is that the President of the United States wants desperately to prevent Congress, a co-equal branch of government, from providing any check whatsoever to even his most reckless decisions. He is trying to render Congress inert as a separate and co-equal branch of government. The challenge we face is that if we don't stand up to him together today, we risk forever losing the power to stand up to any president in the future. The very system of government of the United States, the system of limited power, the system of not having a president as a dictator is very much at stake. The Attorney General of the United States is sworn to uphold the Constitution as our nation's chief law enforcement officer. He has an obligation to do everything in his power to warn the president of the damage he risks and the liability he assumes by directly threatening our system of checks and balances and of limited government. Sadly, the Attorney General has failed in that responsibility. He has failed to check the president's worst instincts. He has not only misrepresented the findings of the special counsel, he has failed to protect the special counsel's investigation from unfair political attacks. He has himself unfairly attacked the special counsel's investigation. He has failed the men and women of the Department of Justice by placing the needs of the president over the fair administration of justice. He has even failed to show up today. Yes, we will continue to negotiate for access to the full report for another couple of days. And yes, we will have no choice but to move quickly to hold the Attorney General in contempt if he stalls or fails to negotiate in good faith. But the Attorney General must make a choice. Every one of us must make the same choice. That choice is now an obligation of our office. The choice is simple. We can stand up to this president in defense of the country and the Constitution and the liberty we love, or we can let the moment pass us by. I do not, and we have seen in other countries what happens when you allow such moments to pass by. I do not know what Attorney General Barr will choose. I do not know what my Republican colleagues will choose. But I am certain that there is no way forward for this country that does not include a reckoning with this clear and present danger to our constitutional order. History will judge us for how we face this challenge. We will all be held accountable in one way or the other. And if he does not provide this committee with the information it demands, and the respect it deserves, Mr. Barr's moment of accountability will come soon enough. I now recognize the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's be very clear. There is only one reason, and one reason only, at this point, we are not being able to fulfill our constitutional role of oversight, and that is the chairman's demands that were played out yesterday. We could have had a hearing today. What bothers me the most about this is not only did, in standing for the questions that were discussed and the issues that have been discussed between me and the chairman, not only did he take the ability for the American people to hear again from Bill Barr, he took our ability to hear from Bill Barr today. To protect, maybe, because some didn't feel like they could ask proper questions. Maybe they wanted more staff questions. Who knows? But yesterday we found this, that he claims that he wants staff to question the Attorney General because the 5 minute per member is not enough. But yet we spent and approved a motion yesterday that said we could do a whole hour, an extra hour, between the chairman and myself. He could have took one of these fabulous members that he has, and he has some excellent attorneys on his side, some of the best. He could have given them all 30 minutes, and they could have questioned the Attorney General any way they wanted to. Instead, we go back to a circus political stunt to say we want it to look like an impeachment hearing because they won't bring impeachment proceedings. That's the reason. Take whatever you want to take. You can go out and have press conferences. You can state it from this dais. You can say whatever you want to have. But the reason Bill Barr is not here today is because the Democrats decided they didn't want him here today. That's the reason he's not here. You could have done anything else you wanted. And what is amazing to me is to say that he is scared of answering questions, to scared that he's not. And you can disagree with the Attorney General all you want, but for yesterday, he sat for over almost 6 hours in the Senate voluntarily asking questions, even on a second round that was taken up by Democrats who wanted to ask more questions. And you can agree, did he do good, did he do bad? It doesn't matter, but we're not getting that opportunity today because the stunt and the circus continues over here. All we had to do, we agreed to more time. We could talk about executive session, but no. For some reason, for some purpose, except the optics of something they can't do or don't want to do right now, they wanted to have a staff member ask questions. As I said before, if that staff member wants to ask questions so desperately, run for Congress. Put a pin on. Find a committee. But you know, I can continue on and on and on about the issues that we have here and the impeachment agenda and whatever you want to have, and saying that he's blackmailing this committee, he's terrified to come before this committee. I think yesterday he proved he's not terrified to sit before anybody, especially the Senate, which they actually extended the question time on. He answered the question, whether you like the question or not. As my chairman told me yesterday, it's not a matter of where we agree or disagree on this. We have the motions, we move the motion, we do the motion. You can agree with the Attorney General or disagree with the Attorney General, but not hearing from them is a travesty for this committee today. But I would be remiss if I also did not mention the largest tragedy of this day. That actually was from yesterday. The chairman just stated a few moments ago that we can't let moments pass, and I agree completely. Because what happened yesterday on this dais was a travesty. When you do not recognize members for valid motions, when you call things dilatory, questioning the motives of what members are doing it for. I have sat on this committee for 6 years, and I have sat through hours of motions to strike the last word, of giving other members on the minority side more time, more time. One of my biggest concerns I ever had with Chairman Goodlatte is, why do you let it continue? Just call the previous question. And on two occasions last Congress, he did. On our resolutions of inquiry, after almost 6 to 7 hours of debate. The question I have here is not what Bill Barr is scared of. My question is, what are the Democrats scared of? They don't want Bill Barr here today. They've had the report, they've read it, they don't like what's in it. The chairman won't even go look at what the Attorney General offered him. It's pretty amazing to me. He wants to go in executive session and ask questions about it, but he won't go read it. Now, you can go read it and ask for more. But here's the problem today, and this problem from yesterday is not over. If the majority wants to run a committee in which minority rights do not matter. Parliamentary procedure does not matter. We saw it on full display yesterday. It will not continue. We will continue this exercise, and we will exercise what we have as minority, which is the minority rights to ask questions, to make motions. Because at the end of the day, unless we've forgotten, Mr. Chairman, you've got more votes than we do. You will get what you want. But just like we sat on this side and you sat on this side and got to spend hours talking about whatever you wanted to talk about while Chairman Goodlatte sat there and let you do it. And all you wanted to, and the question that bothered me the most yesterday was, we got time, we got to get on to another bill. Timing does not trump minority rights. And there's not a member on this dais that should say it's not. And freshman members or anybody else who's here for the first time, that's not how this committee works. And if you don't believe me, ask Chairman Sensenbrenner. For 3 times was chairman of this committee, and he laid it out clearly yesterday. But when we degradate members of my side, calling Ms. Lesko's amendment ridiculous, calling ours dilatory, that's just wrong and should offend everybody on this dais. Mr. Chairman, this is wrong. The tragedy of today is not that you have an empty chair, not that you have props. You can call the Attorney General whatever you want. You know, I'm reminded of sticks and stones kind of quote. But what really bothers me today is the travesty of what happened in minority rights yesterday. And there's not a member of the Democrats who were on this committee last year that can honestly look me in the face and say, y'all were not treated much better by a chairman who actually followed the rules than we were treated yesterday. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Ordinarily at this point, I would introduce the witness. But instead, we will conclude this proceedings. I just want to say, we didn't choose not to have Mr. Barr come. He chose. We cannot permit him or anybody in the administration to dictate the manner in which we function. This does not include our inquiry into the Attorney General's handling of the Mueller report,
point of parliamentary
or
inquiry,
his conduct before Congress. Nor does it conclude our efforts
I seek recognition
to
for
compel
parliamentary
production
inquiry.
of the entire report and its underlying materials. We will not hear from the Attorney General today, but this committee intends to obtain the information that it needs to conduct its constitutional oversight and legislative responsibilities. We will defend the prerogatives of Congress. We will defend the rights of the American people to know what's going on. We will defend the constitutional scheme of equal and coordinate branches of government. We will make sure that no president becomes a monarch. We need the information without delay. The hearing
Mr. Chairman,
And we'll do so with trampling minority rights.
It's going to be, Mr. Chairman, where there is not going to be a recognition of members who seek legitimate inquiry as to the procedures.
Quite a bit of fireworks there during the House committee hearing, where U.S. Attorney General William Barr was invited to testify but declined. Democrats obviously upset with that choice. Republicans blaming it on the Democrats and the requests they were making regarding how Barr would be questioned by staff attorneys, and perhaps some changes to the timing. Usually House members have about 5 minutes to ask their questions. So that's how the hearing ended. Outside, Democrats reacted to the events inside the hearing room. Here is some of that reaction after the hearing.
Student of government all my life. I watched the Watergate hearings from the beginning to the end. This smacks so much of Watergate. An attorney general like John Mitchell, who believes the president is above the law. That is not America. The president is not above the law. And if the president thinks the special counsel's investigation is a witch hunt, he cannot stop it. But our attorney general thinks so. Chicken Barr should have shown up today and answered questions. He was afraid of Barry Burke. He was afraid of Norm Eisen. An attorney general who's picked for his legal acumen and his abilities would not be fearful of any other attorneys questioning him for 30 minutes. This man was picked to be Roy Cohn and to be Donald Trump's fixer. The Black Sox look clean compared to this team. It's a sad day in America.
Good morning. I did not have the privilege of being born into this country. I became an American citizen when I was 20 years old, and I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all foreign and domestic enemies. Attorney General Barr took the same oath, and today he shows that the only oath that he is now following is to protect and defend the president, who right now is threatening the strength of our democracy. Having come from Latin America, I understand very well what it means when a man in power starts circumventing equal branches of government. We must not allow this to happen in the United States of America. Thank you.
Morning. The Attorney General has a constitutional responsibility to uphold the rule of law. Instead, he's done everything to undermine the rule of law. The so-called Attorney General is abrasive, evasive, and unpersuasive. He is a disgrace to the office that he currently holds. The so-called Attorney General is missing in action, absent without official leave, and has clearly made the decision to serve as the personal fixer for Donald Trump, inconsistent with the oath of office that he has taken. And we as House Democrats recognize that we are a separate and co-equal branch of government. We don't work for Donald Trump. We work for the American people. We have a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check and balance on an out-of-control executive branch. Donald Trump, the so-called Attorney General, and his minions are out of control right now. We won't overreach. We won't over-politicize. We won't over-investigate. But we will do our constitutional oversight responsibility. The so-called Attorney General can run, but he cannot hide.
So that's how some of the members of the House were reacting. Here is a little bit from Chairman Nadler outside the hearing room.
To be a coordinated branch of government and to have the information it needs to legislate and act on behalf of the American people. The administration, by its policy of across-the-board defiance of congressional subpoenas, is saying that only the executive matters, that we don't want limitations by Congress that the Constitution imposes on us. This is a grave danger to American democracy, and we must do all we can in the name of the American people to ensure that when the Trump administration ends, we have as robust a democracy to hand to our children as was handed to us. And today is a day of testing, and everyone will be judged by history in terms of how they react to this.
Mr. Chairman.
And here is the ranking member Collins speaking outside the hearing room.
The problem I have today is that the chairman has decided political signs are more important than actually having the Attorney General here. We'll continue to watch what he's doing, but it is a shame to me that the committee and the majority is running roughshod over the minority rights, but also running roughshod over the American people, and not even taking the accommodations that the Attorney General has made to him. And we understand that. Then we understand that maybe it's the Democrats who have something to be worried about. Maybe they don't like what was in the Mueller report, and maybe they don't want to continue to have to answer questions about it. I'll take this question.
The White House has been fighting subpoenas, fighting requests for information. Do you have any concern that they're eroding your colleagues' ability to investigate?
I don't think so. I think they're going to do what they need to do, as other past administrations have done as well, including President Obama and others. They fight subpoenas when they feel like that they've either made accommodations or not. One very much concern I have, and the chairman was just out here talking about going straight to contempt. That's typically a 2-week process. You don't typically go straight to contempt. You actually work with the agency, you try to make accommodations, and every time it's been held in contempt from committees, it's typically been a long process. This Democratic majority seems to be impatient. They don't want to wait. They don't want to ask proper questions. They don't want to go through the process. What are they hiding? Why are they so concerned? Because they hate this president. They don't want to see this fall. They want to keep the service going and keep the American people believing that they're actually doing impeachment when they're not.
Will you fight those efforts to ultimate contempt?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
Beyond the precedent, is there anything inherently wrong with staff attorneys questioning witnesses?
Well, as your network actually said, there is no precedent for this. And I think after 206 years of this committee actually working, where we actually were able to do our job, except in the area, and this is where it gets interesting, because the only two areas even the chairman talks about is in impeachment. So what is happening is my chairman wants to actually let the American people believe by citing impeachment as the precedent that we're actually doing impeachment, when in reality, they don't want to bring impeachment. So this is the problem. This is becoming a circus. If he would take the accommodations that the Attorney General has made, work with the Attorney General to find better ways, instead of rushing to have a press release, rushing to have our committee, and by the way, trampling minority rights of this committee, that is something that has been amazing to me. Yesterday was a travesty in our committee, and our chairman actually should be ashamed.
What's wrong with having staff attorneys question beyond the precedent?
The interesting question, follow up on the staff question is irrelevant in the sense of what they're actually wanting to do. But my question is, why does the chairman think so little of his lawyers on his committee that he wouldn't take 30 minutes for himself or for others to actually ask questions? He's got some great attorneys. To me, it's a slap in the face at his own people.
Will you fight efforts to hold the Attorney General in contempt?
We're just going to continue to, if the chairman wants to continue down that path, my questions are going to be is, what is your hurry? Have you actually looked for accommodations? Have you actually tried to work with this Department of Justice? Or have you simply, every time you didn't get what you want, which has been the pattern of the first 100 days, this chairman runs to make a subpoena, runs to make a contempt charge. It's almost like they're daring to go to court instead of doing proper legislative oversight. That's a travesty for this country. Thank you so much.
Now, but you can send it, I guess, to us, and we'll put it.
So some continued strong reactions outside the hearing room after the Attorney General declined to testify before the House committee. Let's get you another look at weather, and then we'll get into some local news. Again, 59 degrees still in Philadelphia, but we're headed upward from there. Dew point 55, winds out of southeast at 3 miles per hour right now. Here's a live look at ultimate Doppler radar over the last 3 hours. As we mentioned, the dense fog advisory is passed, fog is lifting, and visibility is improving. We'll show you that in a couple minutes. Here again are your current temperatures. Looks like we may be up a couple ticks in Philadelphia. 60s across most of the area. Wildwood standing out at 74 right now. And more warmth to come. Look at that. 77 in Ocean City, Maryland already. 77 in Charlottesville. Here are your U.S. temperatures. 70s all along the Gulf Coast right now. 51 out in San Francisco, 49 in Portland. See some blue temperatures across the upper plains there. Low point seems to be Rapid City at 34. But Tampa, the hot spot at 79 right now. In terms of change from yesterday, you see Philadelphia is only up a couple degrees from the same hour yesterday, but Mount Pocono 17 degrees warmer, and Cape May likewise 17 degrees warmer. So quite a difference a day makes for those two communities. Here are your wind speeds. 7 in Philly right now, calm in some other places, nowhere above 10 miles per hour, double digits. And wind gusts only 17 down in, I think that may be Ocean City, Maryland? No, Georgetown, Delaware is down there. Visibility is improving, as we mentioned. Where the sun has warmed things up and burned off the fog, visibility is at 10. Some other places still cool with that cloud cover. And there you can see the satellite view. Here comes a look at your future cast, the national setup. And we'll try to play you the Futurecast long range here. Some rain moving into the area Friday and maybe again Saturday. So it looks like a pretty unsettled weather pattern until we clear out on Monday. Here comes your full 7-day forecast from the Fox 29 Weather Authority. Thursday warmer with PM storms, high of 82. Calling it a 7 on our forecast by the numbers. Friday, showers and PM storms 72. Phillies are playing at home this weekend. Clouds and showers 74 on Saturday. Showers and cooler 65 on Sunday. Monday looks sunny and nice at 73. Tuesday sunny and mild 77. Wednesday shower chance, high of 75. So it looks like generally some good weather, although we do have chances of showers for the MS Walk and the Broad Street Run this weekend. If you're participating in those events, I hope you enjoy your time. Here is, don't forget to download our Fox 29 Weather Authority app. You can get hourly forecasts, track that rain as it's coming in, look at future, both the last couple, last hours of radar as well as the Futurecast. But that hourly forecast feature is really great. You can also get alerts when severe weather may be headed into the area. Get you one quick look here at Naperville, Illinois. The Chicago area has been dealing with flooding the last few days as a result of all the rain they've had up there. National Weather Service says rain will taper off, but river levels remain high for several days. It will continue to rain, and I think I've seen on this shot it is raining a little bit there today in Naperville. But Friday is expected to be mostly dry. Obviously, our thoughts are with the people of Naperville and other communities in Illinois that are dealing with the flooding, and hope things dry out for them soon. We've got some local news for you now. Police say they have identified a suspect in the shooting of a 13-year-old boy. That shooting happened outside a popular corner store in southwest Philadelphia. This morning we're learning more about the motive from a man who believes he was the intended target. Fox 29's Steve Keeley has the report.
Now you know for sure that the kid wasn't the target, but the other guy in the video was.
No, we know he wasn't the target. He was walking in the store. Apparently another guy who has since told us he believes he was the target. He had been involved in an altercation or dispute over the purchase of a car minutes before, and that he certainly believes that it was the individual he was involved with that fired shots at him and unfortunately struck this young man who was critical, as yesterday was critical but stable, but he was in critical condition. So clearly he was not the intended target.
Fox 29 News has learned why this 13-year-old was shot yesterday outside this supermarket at Island and Woodland Avenues. The man seen in the surveillance with him on the telephone admitted to police that he was in a dispute with a man with a BMW just moments before over the sale of the car, and that's why that man shot at him. That man police have identified as Rafiq Small, seen here in a previous mugshot. Just 5'4", 120 pounds, last known address in Lansdowne. In the surveillance, you see the headlights of the BMW speed away. Police have not put out the information on the car just yet, but they have put out Rafiq Small's identification.
There was some discussion about selling that car. I don't know how that went exactly, but that's what the essence of it is, and why you would choose to shoot somebody over that situation, I don't know. I don't get most of it, but certainly you got a 13-year-old who sustained 2 gunshot wounds unnecessarily, and we're praying that he survives his wounds.
The other part of the story, why the 13-year-old was out after midnight. Other residents in a group home for boys told Fox 29 News that they were locked out of this place called Child's First, just about a block and a half away from the supermarket, and that's why they couldn't get in. and that's why he got hungry and wanted to get something to eat at the supermarket. So now 2 simultaneous investigations going on. Philly police looking for the shooter, and Philly's Department of Human Services, commonly called DHS, investigating what's going on at Child First, where kids were locked out after midnight. At police headquarters, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
Thank you to Steve for that report. A group is walking across the Delaware Valley to honor the sacrifices made by our nation's heroes. The group left the 24th District Police Station in Philadelphia around 3 this morning and made its way to Independence Mall. Fox 29's Sabina Kuriakose has more this morning with their walk.
I just want to dedicate this, and Carry the Load wants to dedicate this to Philly and the 2 fallen Marines.
It's a burden no one should carry alone, and so they carried it together. Dozens of veterans, friends, and family members walking to honor fallen heroes, those lost in war and on the front lines of emergency response. Day 4 of the 32-day national relay saw the marchers arrive at Philadelphia Police 24th District headquarters before it was on to Independence Mall, then down the streets of Center City, and from there, Southwest Philadelphia. The event, organized by veterans group Carry the Load, started by Navy SEALs who wanted to honor those that never came home. Beginning in West Point, New York, winding through Bucks County. Among the walkers, Gold Star family members, including Doylestown native Ryan Mannion, whose brother Travis died during his second tour of Iraq as a Marine in 2007.
My family, every day, we have worked to make sure that we not just continue Travis's legacy, but the legacy of all of these men and women who have served and sacrificed, because I think that they represent all that is good in this country.
If we don't do what we're doing today, obviously Memorial Day is not just one day, it should be every day. Because if we don't remember our fallen, we don't remember those men and women who have served our country, whether they be military, law enforcement, firefighters, or other first responders, they tend to be forgotten, and then they die twice, and we don't want to ever let them die twice.
For all of our fallen soldiers out there, I have 3 family members that were in the military, and I know what it's like to be someone waiting at home for someone to come home.
No rest for the weary. The relay continues on to Texas. Memorial May, a month-long remembrance.
1, 2, 3.
In Southwest Philadelphia, Sabina Kuriakose, Fox 29 News.
Thank you to Sabina for that report about that important event. Long walk ahead of them, but for a good cause for sure. A 25-year-old woman is fighting for her life after being stabbed more than 30 times inside of her home. This happened Saturday in Southwest Philly on the 6100 block of Walton Avenue. Police don't think it was a robbery or a random act. They believe the woman knows her attacker. Detectives hope to speak to her soon. In the meantime, they are sifting through evidence. Neighbors are now growing worried. Are now getting word.
It sounds personal, like 30 times. It's harder to stab a person that many times and not feel no type of remorse or anything.
But I just hope and pray that, everything works out well for her and that whoever did it just come to the surface and turn themselves in.
The victim's name has not been released. She remains in critical condition. Two current Philadelphia cops and 1 retired officer are the ones in cuffs this morning down in Florida. Sheriff's deputies in Pinellas County arrested off-duty officer Cindy Kane, her husband Frank Bonnet, as well as a retired police officer Paul Seeger. Deputies say they were called after a witness reported seeing Seeger push Kane, but when a deputy arrived, neither would answer questions. That's when a fight broke out and Bonnet jumped in. They're all facing separate charges from domestic battery to assault on a police officer this morning. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Richard Ross announced Officer Kane would be fired following the incident. In Camden County, 3 sisters are looking for answers after the cemetery where their father is buried says they lost his body. The 3 women came to visit their father's grave on Tuesday at the new Camden Cemetery. They found the headstone of their Army veteran dad tossed in the weeds under a tree. To make matters worse, the family says they called the City of Camden's Public Works Department that runs the cemetery and were told no one even knew the location of the grave.
It's an outrage, you know. You pay to have, and you trust them to take care of your loved ones, and this is what you do, and it's not right. It's not right.
The worst part of this thing is I don't know exactly where my father is.
This family isn't alone. In that cemetery, there are dozens of toppled headstones of military members and tattered American flags all over the ground.
The ground is hollow. The drainage isn't good. Call me, let me know, because this is going to be on at 10 o'clock.
In Gloucester County, a South Jersey man is behind bars for hitting someone's car with a machete while shouting racial slurs during a road rage incident. Washington Township Police say 29-year-old Michael Roller also threw things at the car. Both cars pulled into a store parking lot. Roller got out, and police say he hit the other vehicle with a machete while shouting racial slurs. They say Roller then ran into the rear yard of a nearby home where police found him and arrested him. Police say they don't know how the incident started. In Camden County, Pennsauken High School is scouting a new location for its graduation ceremony next month. The ceremony is traditionally held on their athletic field, but it's currently undergoing renovations. District officials proposed moving the ceremony to the school gym, but many are against it due to the lack of seating and cost. So they're considering the Leah Court Center in North Philly. The school has posted a survey online where the community can vote on a location. You can find the survey at fox29.com. Let's get you another live look outside. You're looking at the Benjamin Franklin Parkway in Philadelphia. Some cloud cover and fog off in the distance, but we will have some clearing and temperatures will rise today. Food allergies can be deadly, but a local doctor is one of only a few helping create a solution. He joined us this morning on Good Day Philadelphia to demonstrate how peanut allergy immunotherapy works. Here is that segment from this morning.
All right, 8:17.
Well, according to the CDC, 4 to 6% of children in the U.S. suffer from food allergies. And when it comes to adults, it's 2 to 3% of the population.
Yeah, typically patients are told to avoid all contact and to, carry one of those EpiPens just in case of a reaction. A local doctor is among a handful in this country that are practicing oral immunotherapy.
So Dr. Manav Sehgal, an allergist and immunologist, you've been on the show before, is here with a young patient who's been successfully being treated for a peanut allergy.
That's Rachel right there.
Say hi, Rachel.
Hi.
And Rachel's mom, Michelle. Hello.
Hello.
What are you, how old are you now?
6.5.
Look at her all sophisticated.
Crossing her legs and everything.
Hello.
I love it.
Well, that would be first grade?
Yes.
Okay. When was the first time you realized that she was allergic to peanuts?
At 11 months, we gave her peanut butter, and she broke out in full body hives all over. The first time I gave it to her, she did not react. The second time, she did. I didn't know what was going to happen, and we got her blood done, and they said that she was anaphylactic for peanuts.
And so what was life like then when she had to deal with the peanut allergy? She had to sit separate from other students at school?
Yeah, so before we started the OIT treatment, basically everywhere we went, I had to be on high alert. The park, movie theaters, couldn't go to a baseball game, even the food shopping, seeing the little crumbs in the cart. Is that peanut crumbs? Is that not? Just the residue itself from touching it. And if she touches it, rubs her eye, puts her finger in her nose, she was tiny, that could cause an anaphylactic
So you
reaction.
figure at this point, I'm just going to have to monitor this, and then Rachel is going to have to monitor the rest of her life.
Right, so we were told avoidance.
Yeah,
Just avoid it.
I mean, even the other kids in our class, didn't they have to wash their hands? To make
Yes,
sure
so
that they-
there is protocol. There still is, just to be safe. But yeah, wash their hands, hand sanitize. But yeah, we were told avoidance, which I didn't think.
So then, when did you get in touch with Dr. Sagel then?
Well, I thought avoidance to me didn't sound like a solution.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because something is bound to happen. Things are mislabeled. You go in the food store, I see yogurt. Yogurt says it's cross-contaminated with peanuts because now they make all the toppings for it. So I did my research. I came across OIT. I saw Dr. Sagel was doing OIT, made an appointment
What
with
is that?
him.
OIT is
Yeah.
oral immunotherapy. So about 3 years ago, we started offering this treatment to address food allergies, including peanut allergy, tree nut allergies, milk and egg allergy. And what it is you change the way a person's body sees those things that they're allergic to. And you can do that slowly and systematically by starting at very, very low doses of the food that the person's allergic to, and then building their tolerance over
So
time.
what we're going to have Rachel do is she eats peanuts. And wait a minute, I thought she was allergic to peanuts.
Right.
So that's kind of silly, isn't it, Rachel? If you're allergic to something, why would you eat it?
Well, every single time I have to take peanuts every single day. First, I have to eat like carby stuff before I eat it, and then
Carby stuff?
Yes.
Okay, carbohydrates, whatever.
Yeah.
Carby.
like pretzels.
Oh, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And then I take them. I have to take 8 peanuts every single day, and I like it with chocolate chips.
You gotta add some chocolate in
What do you
there.
like better, the chocolate chip or the peanut?
Chocolate chips.
Me too.
Do you even like peanuts?
No.
But it's hard to avoid the peanut or peanuts and something.
But now she's taking several peanuts in the morning. But when
Yeah.
she first started out, I mean, how much peanuts were you giving her?
Under 1 milligram to start.
Ooh.
And over the course of 10 months, we built her up to 1 peanut. And then for most of the kids that we're treating, we take it from there up to 8 to 10 peanuts a day.
And each time she did she break out at all? Or was it so
No.
small and you just
No,
keep
no,
building?
No. Yeah.
Not.
No.
So, give me an example. Have you had your peanuts today?
No, not yet. I eat it like after lunch.
You can't do it this early in the morning.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I don't do it in the morning because like school and everything like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Are you going to school today?
I miss school.
You see that smile on her face? She's excited. Now, so it sounds like it's been more than a year.
Yes.
And there's been progress. So
Yes.
will she have to do this for the rest of her life? Or at some point, is there a cutoff like you're finished? You can have as many peanuts as you want.
Yeah, so it depends on the kid. So some of the patients that we're treating have extremely high blood test levels. And as treatment progresses, we can see that for some of those patients, their blood test levels are going to trend downward, and so will their skin tests. So it really depends patient to patient. In general, a person should anticipate that they'll be on some maintenance dose at least a couple times.
Let's say I was allergic to baked beans. Would you have me eating baked beans?
Baked beans might be possible, but it
Well,
might
what's
be a
your
little
friend
bit harder.
strawberries, right?
Yeah, I have a friend who's allergic to strawberries.
Yeah, so for each of these foods, the treatment's very specific to the food.
To
So if
that
a
food.
person's allergic to peanuts, I can address peanut allergy with this treatment. But if it's other foods, then you'd go through a similar protocol to address
How do we get
it.
a hold of you then, if we're dealing with something like this?
How do you get a hold of me? Well, I'm at Chestnut Hill Allergy and Asthma, and our website is philadelphia-allergy.com.
Will there ever be a day when we get to go to Rachel and say, Rachel, go to town, have as many peanuts as you want, you're good to go, no worries?
So at the end of this protocol, she actually sat down and ate 30 peanuts in one setting.
Yeah.
And what that did was reassure me, Rachel, and her mom that even if we push those doses, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis, she has to eat those peanuts to maintain that tolerance. But now her parents don't have to read labels to see if
They don't have
something
to worry as
happens.
much.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people watch this show that their kids have peanut allergies.
Right, it's a lot.
It is a lifesaver. I'm telling you, like as a parent, you want to do everything that's best for your child. You want to protect them.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is just going that extra step to get what they need.
Fantastic.
Now, Rachel, do you think you'll ever get sick of peanuts? You're having so many.
Well, I don't think so because I'm taking my peanut dose every single day. So
Exactly.
it's helping me. So if I take my peanuts every single day,
You're going to be a peanut lover before we're
All right, stand up and show everybody your dress because it is gorgeous.
And did you know she dances? What type of dancing do you do?
Hip hop.
She's a hip hop dancer. I told her in the commercial break, I want to see some of your moves, girlfriend.
That is great. All right, we'll watch for that. And if you're not eating them, I'm eating the peanut M&Ms. Oh my gosh! Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Good segment there on immunology and trying to help children overcome their allergies, food allergies. I want to show you a live shot here. We are expecting Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi to speak soon. Of course, her weekly news conference there in Washington, D.C. will come in the aftermath of U.S. Attorney General William Barr declining to testify to the House Judiciary Committee this morning. So as soon as that happens, we will take you there. Camera is panning around, but I don't believe she is in the room yet. As we wait, here is a live look at the White House. President Trump is expected to take part in a National Day of Prayer service. Both the President, the First Lady, and I see mentioned here that Vice President Pence and Mrs. Pence will also attend. This is expected to occur in the Rose Garden. So that is the time for that is 11 a.m. So we'll see if we can get you both of these events back to back, or if we can get you one on playback. If I was a little out of sorts right there when it came back to me, it's because I was seeing this shot. I'm seeing that this is in the Dallas area. This is from our sister station KDFW in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That is a school bus accident. It appears to be some type of big rig and a school bus. The school bus has been left on its side. We will get you more information about this as soon as possible. I see one of Fox 4 in Dallas-Fort Worth, their reporters, is tweeting, and the station has retweeted that there were no children on the bus when the incident happened. So good news there that there were no children on the school bus when this crash happened. Again, this is at First and Walnut Streets in the Dallas area. Looks like Nancy Pelosi is stepping up to the microphone for her weekly news conference. Let's listen in.
Watching over and over again the testimony of the Attorney General of the United States, how sad it is for us to see the top law enforcement officer in our country misrepresenting, withholding the truth from the Congress of the United States. I think it's really time that as I watched him and kept saying what could possibly be motivating the Attorney General of the United States to disrespect the Constitution of the United States, the separation of powers, the right of Congress to know. What possible motivation could the Attorney General of the United States have to dishonor the office that he holds by writing there for the whole world to see, to misrepresent the facts to the Congress of the United States? And then I began to connect the dots. We have Mitch McConnell, who in his fundraising pitches has described himself as the Grim Reaper for any legislation that comes over from the House that will go to a Senate graveyard, calls himself the Grim Reaper. Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, Attorney General Barr, there's a connection. There is an ideological anti-governance, anti-science, anti-meeting the needs of the American people. So when he was testifying and being so cavalier about Special Counsel Mueller and the Mueller report, and so disrespectful of Congress. I thought, this isn't about President Trump only. It's about a right-wing ideological they're handmaidens to the special interest in our country. And it's important to connect the dots, but the American people have to know what this means to them. If you're a young person, you care about the climate crisis. We're passing that bill right now on the floor, and I'm going to have to leave momentarily to vote for it. It is, and that's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. If you're a young person, you care about net neutrality, freedom on the internet. The Grim Reaper is going to kill it in the Senate. If you're a woman, Violence Against Women Act, equal pay for equal work that we sent over to the Senate, the Grim Reaper, Mitch McConnell, will kill it. If you care about reducing the role of money in politics, as H.R. 1, legislation stopping the voter suppression and expanding the voice of the people in our political process, Mitch McConnell will kill it, because he has said the problem is not too much money in politics. He says there's not enough money in politics. Our H.R. 1 is about expanding the voice of the people. Their H.R. 1 was giving 83% of the tax benefit to the top 1%. So this is about policy. It's also about gun safety. Gun safety. We sent over H.R. 8 and H.R. 1112 for responsible background checks, handmaidens to the National Rifle Association and the special interest. Connect the dots. When you see Barr sitting there, what's his motivation? His motivation, his loyalty, is not to his oath of office, and it is to Donald Trump, but all of it, and the Republicans in Congress, is to the special interest. So whether it's H.R. 1 or the gun safety, paycheck fairness, violence against women, save the internet, climate action now, the list goes on. And we will be sending more legislation. But apparently I have news for Mitch McConnell. He may consider them dead on arrival and the Grim Reaper for all of these actions taken by the House of Representatives. But they are alive and well among the American people. And there is a direct connection. And really the probably biggest and saddest of all is while the Attorney General was sitting there withholding the truth from Congress, misrepresenting, being inconsistent in his statements. With shame, how could he do such a thing? But, again, having the support of the Republicans in Congress and the senators behaving in a way that has said to them, we don't care about the branch of government in which we serve. We're not even loyal to strengthening the institution of which we are a part. While we're sitting there, once again, the Justice Department was intensifying its assault on the Affordable Care Act, and that they did their further filing to get rid of the entire Affordable Care Act. So that's what it means to people with pre-existing conditions. His sitting there in that arrogance. I don't care about your pre-existing condition. I care about the special interest in our country. That was the message of Barr. So the connecting of the dots between Mitch McConnell, the Republican agenda in Congress, such as it is, the special interest agenda, fueled by dark special interest money, that's what that hearing was about. It wasn't about technicalities. It wasn't about who wrote the letter and how he characterized the letter. That's interesting. But what is deadly serious about it is the Attorney General of the United States of America was not telling the truth to the Congress of the United States. That's a crime. Yes, Nancy.
What kinds of consequences are you considering for members of the administration who don't comply with congressional subpoenas?
Well, it is. I have great confidence in our committees. We have 6 committees that have. 5 of them have subpoenas. So far, we don't have one from the Foreign Affairs Committee. but 5 of the 6 committees of jurisdiction have the potential for subpoenas. They haven't all issued subpoenas, but that's where we see some of that activity. As you probably know, on the articles of impeachment for President Nixon, Article 3 was that he ignored the subpoenas of Congress, that he did not honor the subpoenas of Congress. This is very, very serious. But my judgment will spring from the judgment of our committee chairs. And in terms of, I was just looking at Mr. Nadler's statement, and the close of his statement today relating to the Attorney General, he said, "History will judge us on how we face this challenge. We will be held accountable one way or another. And if he, Barr, does not provide this committee with the information it demands and the respect it deserves, Mr. Barr's moment of accountability will come soon enough." And I think that probably applies, whatever they decide.
Jail time should be on the table?
I said the committees are trying to make accommodations in terms of receiving unredacted Mueller report. Let them work their will, and then we'll go to the next step.
Madam Speaker, did the Attorney General commit a crime?
He lied to Congress. He lied to Congress. If anybody else did that, it would be considered a crime. Nobody is above the law, not the President of the United States and not the Attorney General. Being the Attorney General does not give you a bath to go say whatever you want, and it is the fact because you are the Attorney General. It just isn't true.
Should he go to jail for it?
There's a process involved here, and as I said, I'll say it again, and how many other questions you may have, the committee will act upon how we will proceed. Yes, ma'am.
Pelosi, last week you had said that you wanted your caucus to focus on the investigations that are already ongoing. Given the fact that you can't get information, given the fact there has been this unprecedented obstruction from the White House, do you think that the time has come to move that impeachment deadline up?
No, I think that the statements being made by the President of the United States has given a blanket statement that he's not going to honor any subpoenas is obstruction of justice. I think that many of the statements that the administration has made has been about obstruction of justice. We are in a very, very, very challenging place because we have a Republican Party in the Congress who are complicit in the special interest agenda of the National Rifle Association, the fossil fuel industry, the special interest writ large. And so they're not going to say anything. So that's why I say sometimes impeachment is the easy way out for some of these people because they know it will end at the Senate's edge. But the fact is that we still have that responsibility. Now, many people and I completely agree with them, our responsibility is to create jobs, protect their access to health care, as we said, in our For the People agenda. Lower the cost of health care by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, bigger paychecks by building the infrastructure of America, and cleaner government in passing H.R. 1 and other initiatives that will spring from that. So there is a direct relationship between health care in America and the behavior of the Attorney General of the United States, who is taking the lead on overturning the Affordable Care Act, which has within it the legislation, the law to protect people with pre-existing conditions, and the list goes on and on. So every day that goes by, we see more reason why the Republicans in Congress should respect their own oath of office and send a message to this administration that while they share their special interest agenda, that it should not include undermining the Constitution of the United States.
Mr. Trump tweeted this week that the working people want to get to yes on the new NAFTA.
Yes.
Do you want to spend time to get a consensus in your caucus on what enforcement is needed for the new NAFTA and how to change the biologics provision so that Democrats also can get to yes?
Yes, and I would add to that the environmental provisions. But the three provisions are what it means for America's workers, and we want it to be positive for America's workers. But you don't help America's workers by exploiting workers in Mexico. The lower they're paid, the worse it is for American workers. So it's about American workers. It's about the environment. And again, the climate issue. We're voting right now on climate action now. The environmental issues are very important to us. As a Californian, I can attest to the need for us to improve the provisions there. And then the biologics, and there's a concern for members. But the overarching issue is enforcement. You can have all the good language in the world that you want, but if you don't have enforcement, you're just having a conversation. You're not having a real negotiation.
And are you working to get a consensus on what kind of enforcement is needed?
Yeah, there's different suggestions, but I say it has to be part of the agreement. It can't be a sidebar, side letter, or later legislation or anything like that. But to your basic first question, yes, we would like to get to yes. I thought it would be easier than this because we've been clear about enforcement in any trade agreement, whether it's with China or whether it's with in our own hemisphere, that enforcement is key to all of it. Kat, did you have a question? No. You answered my question. I answered already. Okay. Yes, sir.
On infrastructure, with your big meeting earlier this week with the president, I know in a couple weeks you're expecting him to come up with some pay-fors, but what do you have in mind? Talking to Republicans here on Capitol Hill, it sounds like they're not really looking at a gas tax, increasing the gas tax. What is your opinion on this?
My opinion is that we'll wait to hear what the president has to say. I spoke to him since the meeting, and he said we're going to be putting together what some of the acceptable pay-fors are to him, and we'll look forward to hearing what he has to say. But we were pleased that the president took it up to $2 trillion. What we would like to see is that they make a commitment that it be 80-20, 80 from the federal government, 20 from the locality, that it would be, in terms of climate, have resiliency in it. You can't build infrastructure for the future without resiliency relating to climate. And we want to see women, veterans, and minority-owned businesses to participate in the prosperity that this will bring, and we want to see.
Let's take you live to the White House, where the National Day of Prayer service is getting underway. Vice President Mike Pence is speaking at the microphone. Let's listen in.
The Bible tells us to be faithful in prayer, and that the effective and fervent prayers of a righteous people availeth much. And since the founding of this nation, the American people have believed in prayer. It is the thread that runs through every era of American history. In 1775, the Second Continental Congress established a day of fasting and prayer. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln, from these very grounds, urged Americans to pray so that, in his words, the united cry of the nation would be heard on high and answered with blessing. In 1952, President Harry Truman and the Congress formally established this National Day of Prayer and set aside each year for the American people to turn to God in prayer and meditation. Ever since then, every president has issued a proclamation in honor of this great tradition, and President Donald Trump continues that tradition today. As President Trump said just 2 years ago in this Rose Garden, in his words, we are a nation of faith. And I can assure you, at a time when religious belief is often marginalized and even ridiculed, in this White House, under this president, we believe in prayer. In fact, the president has made a practice of opening every cabinet meeting in prayer. In fact, he is, at this moment in time, one of only 4 presidents in American history who've issued multiple proclamations calling the American people to prayer in a single year. We believe we always do well to go to the Lord in prayer. But it seems especially important these days. No one should ever fear for their safety in a house of worship in America or anywhere in the world. And yet, we live in a time when we have witnessed unspeakable attacks on people of faith. At a synagogue in California just a few short days ago. At mosques in New Zealand. At historically black churches in Louisiana that we'll be visiting tomorrow. As Americans, we mourn with those who mourn and grieve with those who grieve. And we condemn these attacks in the strongest possible terms. But on this National Day of Prayer, the American people and people of every faith in this country can be confident. They have a champion and a defender of faith and religious liberty in President Donald Trump. It's true. From early in this administration, President Trump has taken steps to ensure that the federal government will never, ever penalize anyone for their religious beliefs ever again. Today, the President will announce even more steps to acknowledge the vital role that people of faith and faith-based organizations play in our national life. So on behalf of our family, and as you will soon hear from the First Family, thank you for your prayers, for our President, for all those who serve in authority at every level. Thank you for your prayers for our armed forces and those who serve in law enforcement and our first responders. Thank you for our teachers and religious leaders and all who lead in business and private sector across this country. And thank you for your prayers for all of the American people. Today we pray for America. And as we pray, let's pray with confidence. This was inscribed in those ancient words millennia ago, that if His people who are called by His name will humble themselves and pray, that He'll do like He's always done through the long and storied history of this nation. He'll hear from heaven and He'll heal this land, this one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us for this National Day of Prayer. God bless you all, and God bless America.
That was Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen Pence. The Vice President delivering remarks at the start of the National Day of Prayer service. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are expected to attend also and participate. We'll see if they make remarks off the top. If not, we will probably be signing off. We have some exciting improvements for you on the way at Fox 29. Our new website will launch in the middle of the month, a new mobile app as well, so lots of work to be done on that. We recently launched a revised version of our Fox 29 weather app, which is also available which is already available in the Apple and
Ladies and gentlemen, the Prestonwood Baptist Church Choir, accompanied by Jonathan Kane.
It sounds like the service is going to get underway, so I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on Fox 29 News Now. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll be back with you after Good Day tomorrow morning. We're with you each day after Good Day Philadelphia at each weekday at 10 a.m. You're looking live at the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, Philadelphia Museum of Art in the background there. Cloudy, overcast skies out that way, a little bit of fog maybe, but that should be lifting and will warm up nicely. Could get into the 80s today. Have a great rest of your Thursday.